Before we begin, have any of you, I see a couple familiar faces, have any of you been on the last couple AI classes that we've done? I see a hand or two raised. We are going to be kind of building off some of the things that we've talked about on those last ones. But if you weren't on those, no problem at all. They are recorded and in the sphere. So if you guys want to learn a little bit more about some AEO as well as some other use cases for AI, those are in there. But without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. I'm going to walk you through this document and get started in creating a listing presentation here together. So with that, let me know when you guys are with me. Can you see my screen? Perfect. I see some heads nodding. Love it. Thank you. So this is that link that I shared. I just want to give you guys the quick 2-minute rundown on what this is. The whole idea is I want to make this easy for you guys to make your own after this. Okay. So first things first, if you opened it, come up here, click File, and click Make a Copy, and that'll save you a copy that you can edit and you can use yourself. Okay. So that's going to be our starting point here today. And with that, I'll give you a quick highlight of what we're going to do. We're going to use two tools today that are going to help us create our listing materials. The first is Perplexity. Has anybody used Perplexity before? I see some no's. Okay, great.
Yes,
So, a yes? Who was that?
me.
Karen, how are you? You've
I'm
used
doing
it?
great. How are you, Todd?
Good. Glad you're able to make it. I know we were sending some emails back and forth. You've used Perplexity before?
Yeah, just as a trial. It's more like I'm using other AI formats, so I tried it.
Yeah, great. Well, glad you've at least given it some, exposure, some thought here. The reason that we are using Perplexity for this, and one of the reasons that I like it, it's like ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, if you guys have used any of those. But what Perplexity does better than those others is it does real-time research for us. So what it will do instead of just working off of training data is it's going and it's live crawling the internet and it's actually giving us sources. And I'm going to show you guys that in real time because AI is really good at answering stuff, but sometimes it's equally good at making stuff up. So when we are presenting to our clients, we want to make sure that we are giving them accurate information and we want to be able to, verify some of those sources. So Perplexity is going to be one of our two tools today. And the second one is Gamma. Gamma is a tool that creates very easy listing or presentations rather. We're going to use it for listing presentations. So we can just take our information, we can place it into Gamma, create a presentation, and even create like a single page website that we can share ahead of any sort of listing presentation. Okay. So those are our two tools today. The big thing I want to draw your attention to is all the heavy lifting has been done for you already. So if you guys want to follow along and go try this yourself, all you have to do is come in here. You're going to copy this entire thing and you're going to end up pasting it into Perplexity. And I'm going to show you guys where to do that here in a second. But I want to draw your attention to a couple things here first, okay? And how we came up with this prompt to help create what we want. So we have given Perplexity, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Let's see. Is that a little bit better? Can we see that a little better? Perfect. So we've told Perplexity in this prompt, and I'm not going to read through the whole thing. You guys can do this exactly what we want. But what I want to draw your attention to is two things. There's a couple highlighted things that you guys will want to fill in yourself before you try to use this. Okay. Don't, make sure it's not just your name, blank markets, etc. So go in, take 2 minutes and say, this is Todd, a real estate professional with 10 years across South Florida, blah, 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 blah. And then fill out some of these numbers to the best that you can and include a couple testimonials. And you'll see why when we create this, okay? The other nice thing is this is just a template ready for you. So if you want to look through here and you want to say, hey, I have an intro page, I have an about the agent. Maybe I want to add my own page about, why South Florida or why Colorado or why Atlanta, wherever you're at. You can go and you can edit this as you see fit. Okay. So, wanted to draw your attention to that. Copy, paste it, make your life easier. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. The last couple things before we get started here together, I made these notes here. You'll see when we create this that AI is going to generate our photos. Some are going to be good, some are probably going to be pretty bad. I'm going to be honest with you. So we'll take a look at that together. Remember, a lot of these photos are going to be placeholders. Next, we want to always make sure that we verify the facts, and that's one of the reasons we are using Perplexity for this instead of like a Chat GPT or a Gemini or even a Claude and a couple other things here. So you have some notes. We have the toolbox. Let's get started. Before I jump into Perplexity and we can work through this in person, any questions? Anything top of mind about this? All right, let's get into it. So,
Um,
Perplexity. I have
so
it open here. Are we all seeing Perplexity now? Seeing a new screen?
yeah,
Great. Perfect. So what I have done is I have created what's called a space. And you do not need a paid account to do this. So I want to let you guys know you can do what we're doing here today on free accounts, or you can upgrade. These are just kind of tools in our tool belt here. So what you'll do is you'll click spaces and it'll prompt you to create a space. You'll get a screen where you have instructions. It'll look like this. And this is where you copy and paste in the information that we just went over in our doc. Okay. So you'll copy that, you'll paste it in here. You'll make sure to add, your name and some of your information, but very easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say, let's begin, because in this instructions, I've told Perplexity exactly what we want to do. And if you copy and paste that in, it's going to do the same thing for you that it's doing for me. Okay. So to get started on your location listing presentation, it needs to know a few things. So it wants to know some, information, property address, anything we know, anything about the seller situation. So let's do this. I'm just going to pull up Google Maps. Does anybody have a particular, city, area, anything that they'd like me to try this out on? If not, Fort Lauderdale, perfect. Denise, what neighborhood? I'm just gonna go in Google Maps and pick a random house. What area in Fort Lauderdale? Plantation. Okay, let's go over to oh, Plantation. All right, let's see. Coconut Creek, Margate. I'm drawing a blank. Bear with me. Sunrise Plantation. All right, we're gonna go right over here. Let's find a single family house. As you can see, we're gonna make this pretty easy. All right, we're gonna go steal this address. I don't know who this is, but this house is gonna be our test here for today. Okay, so I grabbed an address. I'm just gonna give it the property address, Plantation. FL. This will work for anywhere, any state, any neighborhood, anywhere. Perplexity is going to do that live data for us. And then I'm just going to make a little bit of this up because I don't know the actual property. Obviously, when we go to any sort of listing appointments, we want to, pull the right records and make sure that we're being as accurate and thorough as possible. But I'm going to say this is a 3-bed, 2-bath, single family home. Let's say 1,900 square feet. Let's say seller is relocating out of the state, and I'm going to say, give me a placeholder testimonial because unlike, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing, I forgot to put my placeholder testimonial in that instruction on that doc that I shared with you guys. So I'm going to tell it to give me some placeholders. Okay. So now I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to let it do its thing here. Pretty quick and very easy. So we're going to let it keep creating this. Excellent. And then we'll read through it together. And we can adjust anything on the fly, either on this step or on the actual presentation step. Normally, I like to adjust directly here within Perplexity if I have any questions or I want any adjustments, okay? So here we go. It's going to give us an intro, thank you for the opportunity at the property address. Then we have about myself. I uploaded a little bit of a bio and why location. Todd brings nearly a decade of real estate experience, blah, 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 blah. Similarly with location, 15th largest brokerage, over 5,200 agents, all the fun stuff. And then you'll notice that there are agent to add some track record stats. One of the best things about listing presentations is we can kind of, share a lot of our own success, right? So we could say, I've had X amount of listings across X amount of areas, sold for our percentage base of listings. So we can really jazz this up as much as we want. The goal here again is to give us a foundation to do so. And here's a section I think is really unique. And I want to elaborate on this. It says likely buyer profile. So, move up local family looking for more space, relocating buyers, buyers who want a home they can grow into. But let's say I want more information on a likely buyer profile. I'm going to tell it, I like the buyer profile. More specific info with sources. Why are people... Okay, so I told it I want more specific info with sources and why are people moving to Plantation? So let's see. Family-friendly feeling community. This is actually interesting. It's pulling some Facebook threads. Moving from Plantation from Coral Springs, interesting. A central Broward location, some more sources here, city of Plantation, etc. Space and urban lifestyle. So now I want to say, take that new information and it to the complete output. So now I'm going to tell it to add it back into our complete output that we had seen already. So now it's going to update. We're going to go back with our intro, back with the About Us section, so on and so forth. And it's going to continue here. This is where I also always like to pause. And this is where I always remind people that AI is a great tool, but it doesn't quite know anything. So in that prompt, I've intentionally made it for us as humans to verify some things. Because we don't want to be in front of a client and be reading some what we like to refer to as AI slop or things that have been made up. Maybe you've heard that term before. So with that, we have a couple things that we want to verify. Most people considering Fort Lauderdale area single out Plantation as a top suburb. We know that's accurate if we're working in that market. And then we have kind of buyer demand. So that's great. We have a little bit of info on a marketing plan, kind of first 14 days. Now let's say, hey, this is good, but I think we can do a little bit better yet. Now we can go in and let's say I want more information on buyer demand. So I'm going to ask it, can you give me more information on buyer demand, like days on market or number of homes for sale? And let's check out what it gives us. So recent data shows homes in Plantation generally taking around 50 to 80 days. One major portal reports that homes in Plantation sell after about 51 to 60 days. So you can already see we have a differentiating number here. This is a great example of why we want to verify the information. So even though it's pulling sources, we're actually getting different answers. So we have Realtor.com telling us, 50 to 80 days. We have Redfin telling us 51 to 60. We have Zillow telling us 64, and we have Homes.com telling us closer to 80. So Our job is to, trust but verify. So we probably want to go to the MLS and gain a little bit more specificity. And then we just tell Perplexity, hey, I looked in the MLS. Our average days on market here, for this neighborhood or for this area is, let's call it 65. Let's use that number. Okay. So again, trust but verify here. So now I'm going to go, great. Please give me the updated entire output. So now, once more, it's going to recreate and give us the entire output. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to copy and paste this into our next tool, which is Gamma. So we'll give it a second here. We have our neighborhood guides, great pricing strategy, process. And again, all of this you can make your own. That is so important to remember. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste all of this here all the way up to our intro. And I'm going to open our next tool, which is Gamma. Like I mentioned, Gamma is just an AI kind of presentation tool. It's very easy to use. There are other options and alternatives out there, but A, you can do this one for free, and B, it's about as easy as we can get it. So if I go to Gamma, all I'm going to do is hit Create New. And what's nice is because I already have all that information from Perplexity, I can just paste it in. So instead of, telling Gamma to create it all, and it's probably not going to be as accurate and we can't verify the facts, that's why we use Perplexity. So now I'm just going to go ahead and click on this. And up here, you'll see there's a couple cool things you can do, but we want to stick to presentations. And we can also go back and turn this into like a web page that we can share, which is kind of slick. But I'm just going to paste that entire thing and click generate from notes or an outline, okay? As I start to do this, any questions so far? Anything in the chat? I don't think I've missed anything. I just want to make sure.
Question.
Going once? Oh, yep, go ahead.
In my spaces perplexity, I wasn't, you have to show me how to add the location listing info.
Absolutely. Let me finish
When you,
this and I'll circle back to
yeah,
that.
finish
How's that
this.
sound?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
That's an easy one. Any others I see? Okay, so a couple questions on the perplexity thing. No problem. I'll circle back to that one. Okay, so now we're in Gamma, and all I've done is I've copied and pasted in the information that Perplexity gave us. So super easy. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Perplexity. And if you see at the bottom, every time that I ask our listing presentation to do it, it has this separate little section. It says, create a professional real estate listing presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this piece, which is just under our main steps. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to paste it in. That easy, okay? So now the last two things I'm going to do, and you guys can play with this as much as you want. You can make this your own. There's different themes. You can create really nice branded things. But I want to come down here and I want to tell Gamma that I want our photos to be, I'm going to say a lifestyle. So I don't want cartoon pictures. I want it to generate lifestyle type images. And let's see, let's make sure we're good. Format. We're going to do a presentation and we're going to do a traditional presentation. Great. Now at the bottom, you'll see that this says, how many cards do you want? Cards are just called slides. So how many slides do we want in our listing presentation? Let's say I want, I don't know, 15. We'll take a guess there. The reason I picked 15, just to give you a quick high level, is we have 14 different sections here in our output from Perplexity. Okay. So now I'm going to click generate. And we will watch it do this in real time. We're talking a minute to 2 minutes, and our version 1 will be completed. Okay. It really is that easy. So you'll see this is going to start doing some work on kind of multiple slides at a time. It doesn't always go in perfect order here. So we have this working on kind of the first slide, the second, and the third. And it's going to give us some notes. So I'll highlight that. As this is creating our slides, I'll go back and show you the Perplexity. Yes, I can absolutely share the presentation document. No problem at all. Just saw that chat come in, of course. Okay, so now that I'm back at Perplexity, I'm just going to click on kind of the home. Over on the side, do you guys see where it says spaces? Yes, no,
Yes, yes.
yes, perfect. So if I click spaces, I'm just going to click new space up in the top right. I'm going to name it, whatever we want, location listing. And then from our document up here, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to, before I do anything, I'm going to fill out our highlighted, pieces. But then I'm just going to copy and paste this into the instructions. And when I hit create, then it's going to show you exactly what we started with. Okay, I'm not going to hit create on this one because I already got one, but that's all it is. So spaces, create new. Ronald, let me share if you go up in the chat here, I'll reshare it. Here is the link for you. You should be able to open this and then you can copy and paste from there. Great. So let's go back in and let's check in on our presentation. So we are getting real close to our V1 of our presentation here. You can see that we are on slide 13 of 15. So we're very close. But one thing right off the bat that I'm noticing is that maybe we want some more photos. So as soon as this wraps up, I'm going to show you how we can do that and how we can edit even further in here. Great, it's just wrapping up our last slide. Set the launch date, sign the listing agreement, best part of any listing presentation. Perfect, so now it has finished generating. So let's take a quick look here. All of this is editable. So your path to a successful sale, property address. You'll see that some of these blocks are intentionally blocks, so that way you can insert your own headshots or whatever photos you want. Wanted to make it easy. Here's a quick highlight. Todd, 10 plus years in real estate, agent network of 5,200 agents, tells us a little bit about us. And you guys can elaborate as much on these pages as you want. Just do that in the Perplexity side and say, make me look like an all-star kind of thing. And then on this highlighted section in here, it asks for a lot of these things that we're seeing in the presentation. So I just copied and pasted, so you're not going to see everything fully filled out like you would on your own. But then we'd see, numbers of homes sold, average days on market, and we can create these to say whatever we'd like. As I keep working through it, it's going to talk about who are our most likely buyers, where's the buyer demand in plantation today. Now, before we continue, like I said, I like a little bit more pictures. I'm a visual learner, let's say. So now all I got to do up here is I want to say, can you put more pictures in the presentation? And we're going to let Gamma and AI do all the heavy lifting for us. So it's going to start editing. Perfect. So now it's working on multiple different images and it's adjusting the layout on the fly, which is great. And now if we want, we can kind of compare. So I can click on the old one. I can click on the new one and see what we like, maybe what we want to keep, maybe what we don't want to keep, but we have that flexibility in here. So it makes it really simple. So now that we have some updated pictures, let's take a look at our, roughly 10-minute listing presentation. So page one, we've seen, of course, in here, I would just click in and add my own headshot. Now we have some additional updated images here. All of these are fully editable, just like all of this information is. So very easy. And you'll also see that I had it create in that prompt a reminder. So that way we're doing our due diligence. We could say, oh, if we did not put our actual numbers in, quick reminder and pro tip there. Then we get into some of that information, who's our most likely buyer in plantation? And if you recall, this is what we asked Perplexity to tell us. So these are the people who are kind of, in central, looking to be in Central Broward, prioritizing schools and a nice neighborhood feel, relocating professionals, commuter conscious buyers makes a lot of sense in that area. Then we have buyer demand implantation. Again, I didn't put that, actual market data that I would pull from the MLS if I was going on an actual listing presentation. But we have those four sources to say between Realtor.com, Homes.com, Redfin, and Zillow, plantations averaging kind of that 50 to 80 days on market. So we have a great start. Some additional images, maybe align with our, market there, maybe not. So we can always edit those. Then we talk a little bit about our marketing plan. If I were going to present this exact one to a potential client, I would probably come in here and say, hey, this looks a little bit busy. Can you split it into 2 slides? And I would just tell it to, and it'd be very easy. But it's going to talk about professional photography, MLS syndication, digital marketing, all of these things that our agents are utilizing each and every day. Then the idea when it gets into, virtual staging and things like that, some clear examples. Again, I would always recommend to verify the pictures before you send this off to a client, but you can swap these with whatever you would like. You can even swap it with older listings that you've represented. One thing I would do is if we're working in an area that we've sold in or in our farm, I would tell Perplexity, I've sold at 123 Main Street. Make sure to work that into the slides and give some information and some more details there. Then we have kind of a timeline process with some graphics, why people are choosing plantation. And I don't have to go through all this, right? Kind of a quick high level pricing. We're going to use data to make sure we price appropriately and not overprice. And a couple more slides here from listing to closing, what to expect. A little bit of information at the end here. And then obviously those testimonials, which is great. We always want testimonials. And ultimately, the goal is to get to the listing agreement here. So without talking through this, hopefully you can see, between putting this through Perplexity, between putting this in Gamma, all in all, this would take probably about 5 minutes to create a presentation. Now, the beautiful thing that I want to impart, to you guys is this is fully editable. So what I would do, let's say I really want a page that highlights me and my personality and maybe some of my local favorites in the area of the listing. Oh, I love this restaurant or I love going to this park. If I have some things that I regularly want in my listing presentation, all I have to do is go back here, I edit this, and then I recopy and paste it into Perplexity. And I do it once, and then I don't have to do it again unless I want a new update. So it really is that easy to get repeatable results by utilizing this tool to create very fast and specific listing presentations. So that is my high level, about wrapped up on the kind of immersive section here, but I want to open it up for questions.